Today I'm off to Royal Windsor Racecourse. Well, that's something I thought I wouldn't hear myself say when I last rode here in 2005. But jumps racing is back at Windsor, and how nice is that to say. I'm popping in here today to meet up with an old pal, and I'll take a little bit of a trip down memory lane. Yeah, I had some pretty good days here. Yep, Lenzio.
Michael.
Nice to be back.
Oh, well.
Come on, let's have a little look around.
Has much changed?
Well, it's the
reckon?
home of Monday night racing, but not
Come on.
anymore. There'll be no Monday night racing for us.
We can't get in.
Can't even get in. We used to always go around the back because it was easier getting in. Didn't have to see anyone.
I've tried the back door.
Have you?
Guess what?
It's not open. Ah.
Hey, nothing's changed.
Yeah, but look. Even the handle's still broke.
It'll get fixed soon. Nothing much has changed, Michael.
There is no change. It is the very same. No,
Maybe a little bit steel on here. I
Yeah.
think that might have changed a touch, but not
maybe
an awful lot else.
snazzier saddle hooks.
So where were you? You were close to here.
Probably, yeah. I think in 2005 I would have been pretty close to here.
Well, you would have been because the door's there. So.
Yeah, well, you're near the door. But AP was always in the corner because
Messy.
he was messy, and they always gave him a corner. Where
I was through here because this was John Buckingham's side, and then
Yeah.
Chris Maud's, and then
Phil Taylor.
through here Phil Taylor, Pat Taylor, his father.
Yeah.
So this was his side of the weighing room, but that was not there before. You used to have the doors
Yeah.
were double doors when you walked in. I think I was down here somewhere. So not too close to the door at that stage because I had a few more years left. Well, actually, it ended up being more years than what people might have thought in the end.
But one of the best things, Hughesy's 7, that was after me. Obviously, he rode 7 winners at Windsor. I think actually one of the lads might have got off their last horse to let him ride it. I don't know whether it was Ryan was ill. Ryan Moore was
What you mean?
ill.
Ill.
And Hughesy rode the last winner.
Richard Hughes, 156 for the season. It's a double for Richard Hughes. But trouble for Richard Hughes, 4 out of 4. A fabulous 5-timer, a superb 6-timer. It's going to be a magnificent 7 for Richard Hughes.
But anyway,
Hey, memory's gone.
Hughesy, you'll love that. You'll love that. Make his day. Now, the best thing about Windsor was always the food. And these stairs, like you cannot believe, they still look
Same
like,
stairs.
Yeah, they look the same.
This was one of the best canteens.
Oh, it was really good food here.
Wasn't it?
Really good. So, this is obviously a little bit different, Andrew. They've got a proper little kitchen area for somebody to prepare the food. But
Yeah, you'd have a tiny little one
Yeah.
in the corner, I think, before.
But they really did do a great job with the food here. But
Yep.
this was a great little communal area for the lads to sit down.
You'd have a square little box telly in the corner.
Yeah.
No flat screens. I'm just looking around the room now.
No,
No vaping.
yeah, but I see up
No,
there.
but-
There's a watt bike for guys to warm up on.
Your idea of warming up was sat in the corner having a cigarette.
Smoke, yeah. But it used to be a great little spot for everybody to watch a race, and lads were screaming at the TV. If anything happened, they were always like, "Oh, did you see the state of him on that? Did you see what happened there?"
And round here, there was the day when Luke Harvey got left clear at the last. I was in that race as well. I rode one for Robert Allner. I went at the first. Then Carl Llewellyn went at about the third. And so you would have had lads screaming at the TV.
In here,
that
watching
Luke
it,
Harvey
yeah.
is the luckiest jockey riding. And he still is lucky.
I
as
think
well.
he might have came in and said, "I was going to win anyway."
As the old saying goes, it's better to be born lucky than good. And it's fair to say, throughout my career, I had more than my fair share of luck. And that was perfectly advertised back in 1997 here at Royal Windsor, where I was riding in a novice chase on a horse called Quick Quote. And I got left 15 lengths at the start of the race. At that stage, I thought I had absolutely no chance of winning.
Rather reluctant to start was Quick Quote, who's way off the pace as they come towards the first of the fences.
Anyway, going down to the last, I'm going to be third. I looked up and all I could see was the tail of one horse going flipping up in the air, and then the two horses actually colliding.
But as they now come to the final fence, and the leader makes a hash of it, and he's down, and in fact he does bring down Robin's Pride.
Both the jockeys were on the ground. I had a massive smile on my face. All I had to do was get over the last, and all I can hear was Rupert Bell. It's another lucky winner
for Luke Harvey. As he looks over his shoulder, I don't think he can believe it again, but it's Quick Quote who wins for Luke Harvey.
There's our Luke, all smiles on board Quick Quote. Look at Luke, he can't contain himself, can he?
The week before at Wincanton, exactly the same thing had happened to me, so Royal Windsor's always been a lucky track for me.
If this is where the fence is going to be, Andrew, like, it was always the thing I found at Windsor when I was riding around here. Certain trainers loved having runners here, and always, like, I rode quite a lot for Henrietta Knight, and her horses were so well schooled.
Well balanced as well.
Yeah, but that was the key. You could always, but it was always, when it was a figure of 8, you had to position yourself on the course so you were able to take advantage of the figure of 8. You weren't always on the inside, but if you tried to position yourself so that you could take advantage.
And it depended where you wanted to be the last circuit. Ideally, the figure of 8, when you were heading around there, you'd ideally want to be on the inside, so
Yeah.
you weren't travelling too far around. So that's changed a little bit now. Obviously, they're taking the figure of 8 away, but it reminds me a cross between swinging out at Wetherby down the back straight, and when you're looking down there, bit of Uttoxeter in there.
Yeah.
Left-handed, right-handed. So I think, look, it's going to be a fair track. This bend up here, which we've just come round past the winning post, it's quite tight. I'd probably akin to it a little bit like Haydock, the bend turning into the home straight. But this bend which we just passed here, they're not at a racing stage.
No.
So
They'll
you're
be
not
still
really
going
racing.
steady there.
It'll be down here where you'll
Yeah.
try and use your jumping.
Yeah. I think this, like, the great thing about this is you're going to have slow ground. It's a long line of fences. There'll be no excuses, and I think as a jockey, that's what you want. That's why I loved riding around here. Plus the fact that when you were riding for Nicky Henderson, you always had an advantage.
You're on the best horses. Well, not fair.
I always think with tracks, you always have great memories, and you have one that you wish you could just
Fade into the
rub
distance.
out. Go on, I'll let you go first. Best memory.
Can I have 2 or not?
Yeah,
You're gonna
of course you can.
Same race,
Yeah.
Grade 2 novice chase. The listener won it, beat one of, I think Joe Tizard rode it, Lord Killahana. And then See You Sometime won the same race. Windsor was very lucky for me. That was sort of when it came back over the period of
2004.
when Ascot was getting redeveloped. And before that, I had a good ride. It was a small little ride for Andy Hobbs, 22-runner handicap hurdle, Palace Parade. He had 10-4 on a Monday, and I was told that they fancied it. So you can imagine, it was a case.
10-4 on a Monday for Andrew Thornton's like.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah,
Dry
dry the back of the
Yeah.
throat. Bad memories. Probably watching you lose it in the weighing room, I'd say.
Well, actually, when you talk about See You Sometime, 2 things come to mind. My arm hurts because I rode him in the City Isles and he fell with me, and then I got kicked by one coming from behind and broke my arm. And I rode a horse called Chauvinist that day for Nicky Henderson, which was really fancied. And I think it was the one day you talk about you're allowed your good memories. I can wipe out one of my bad ones, and that was that day because.
What? Not just one.
Yeah,
There was more than one.
No, there was more than one. Chauvinist was very disappointing, and we thought he was going to be a really good chaser. I think I rode something else in the novice hurdle that was really fancy, which ran terrible, and I came out last chance on a horse called Tanikos for Nicky and Tony Taylor, and it fell with me. And I came back in, and I think I was so frustrated. I took my helmet off and smashed it on the concrete floor.
And we've seen the concrete steps
And like,
haven't
honestly,
changed.
and when I think about it now, like it was a Tyrrell Hatton moment, and I was very, very embarrassed.
Now I know where Timmy Murphy got it from.
Yeah, but a good days too, mind. I can remember beating Norman here. I rode one of Jeff King's, who was always tough to please, Jeff. But when you gave one a good ride, he used to grab you by the arm and say, "That's a good ride."
Yeah, well, I had the reverse round here. I rode a horse for Jeff, which had broken Johnny Kavanagh's leg the time before, and I was told to be handy on it. And I missed the break.
Oh,
Came
no.
down to this bend down here. Luckily for me, they all ran wide, and so I nipped up the inside and I got my position down the back. But he still pulled me up on it. What I was doing at the start. But that was Jeff King.
He was tough to please. But, you know, the one thing about this place is when you turn in here,
Loads of time.
there's loads of time and there's no excuses. And I think that's what's going to make it so good here. The fact we're going to have decent ground, good horses, good valuable racing. Yeah.
No excuses.
Andrew, I think this just shows you what we were talking about with you're going to have a little bit of a dog leg coming into the straight, aren't you? But you're going to have plenty of time.
Especially when the ground's on the slow side for the jumpers as well. But I think stood up here, you don't realise how close the crowd are to the action.
Yeah.
Obviously on Monday nights, that's what it's synonymous for. Generally, you get big crowds, but you can understand why, because you can see them coming straight up the home straight at you. It's going to be happening a little bit slow on the jumping, but still, to get it back here, especially for the Winter Millions meeting as well.
I think it'll get great crowds, you know, with great crowds at Lingfield, and people love the racing here. People always ask me, "Oh, you must hear the crowd." I never heard the crowd.
Well, I did when I was about 40 lengths behind.
Yeah, but it's
Switched
different
off.
then. It's almost
Switched
like
off.
you zone out.
Yeah,
When you're in the zone and you're trying to win the race, you don't hear anything else except
concentration.
what's going on around you.
Yeah.
It's very hard for people to actually understand that, but it's...
I've always wondered if it's that same for a cricketer or a footballer when you're in that moment and in the match. I wonder if they get the same feeling.
I'm never any good at cricket or football. I wouldn't know. Now, Andrew, there is a lot of room in this parade ring now.
Not a lot when you got 18 runners.
No, but that was the thing here at Windsor. There was always like almost 2 divisions of a maiden hurdle, loads of runners, lots of inexperienced horses, and normally 1 or 2 of them would scatter everybody.
And throw into the mix a few inexperienced jockeys as well, which we were in our early days.
Like it was a hive of activity, and people are always trying to give you like last minute instructions. And
Were you listening?
no, I don't, you know, look, I don't know about you, but I always had a plan in my head of what I was going to do, and I would come out and I would say, see all the owners.
Have the chit chat.
Yeah, have the chit chat and just tell them what I'm going to do.
Well, I wouldn't never disagree with whatever you told me.
Well, no,
Well,
but
now and again.
Yeah, but it was it was that thing, wasn't it? And I think a lot of people like that. They like the fact that you'd thought it through, bit of positivity, going out to ride, and then the unplaced ones were over there, and if you were heading off in there, that was not the way you wanted to go. You wanted to go right down into the enclosures, wasn't it?
Yeah, and you, like you said, you had the plan in your head. When that plaid went out the window at the first, and then you had to come in and say, actually, we went to plan B fairly quickly.
I think it was plan Z is where you were going in the end. But that's the key. Like, it's about having a plan, executing it, and when you get it right, it's like walking down there the long way around is actually quite a nice walk, isn't it?
And then you didn't have to say much when you came in.
No.
Everybody was happy.
Just smile for the camera. For one last time.
Come on then. We'll give it one last go, shall we? Jockeys mount, jockeys mount. Come on then.
Right, I'll leg you up. I'll leg you up. I can't ride anymore.
Good morning from Royal Windsor and the BHA Trials morning. Really, really exciting. Windsor, best known as a flat course, is reintroducing jumping. It's nearly 20 years since we've had jumping here, and there's a complete refiguration of the track.
So we've levelled a hectare of ground outside the back course on the flat, which has allowed us to go in a continuous left-handed bend rather than the normal figure of 8 that we see for the flat. So 2 years ago we levelled that ground out there, and now we've got a wider straight than we ever had before to give everyone as much room as possible when they're coming down towards our pull-up.
I liked it. Ground was nice. The configuration of the track laid out well, I thought. Can only be good for jump racing, can't it? You know, another track means, you know, a few more opportunities, more racing. Sure, it's better for us.
Now, the last time they were jumping here, Karen, you were being about 3 or 4 years of age, so I'm not going to ask you if you've ridden here, but how did you find that?
I found it grand. This top end is a little bit sharp, but the rest of it is actually all grand enough, you know, that way. It should be grand, should be all good.
Did you ride around here when it was a figure of 8?
No, not that old.
Sorry, looks can be deceptive. I didn't know.
I think a fast horse.
Okay.
I think that's the one that's going to suit.
And obviously it'd be nice ground through the depth of the winter, I should imagine. I know back in the day, Nicky would always say that you came here for the nice ground horses in the depth of the winter.
It's funny trotting around it first. I got a bit disorientated because when you've watched thousands of races from here, and I rode it, but that was a long time ago. It took a bit of getting used to.
It's great to be back. It's great. It's a great incentive, great idea, and I'm sure it'll be appreciated by a lot of people. It's lovely.
Yeah, on the whole, very positive, and the ground's lovely, really nice covering of grass. But, you know, today is here for a reason, so that's what we're here for.
Oh, it's great to see jump racing back here. I'm sure the late Queen Mother would certainly approve. Obviously, she was a great supporter of here back in the day, and you really get a sense of history back here, and it's wonderful to see jump racing back.
It's been a colossal effort from the grounds team, and they've been fantastic, Luke. They've had to move 3 miles of rail, so all the rail after October the 14th came down. MK Surveys came in and surveyed in with GPS the new track, and then the 3 miles of rail had to go back up. So huge effort. Obviously this has been in plans now for 2.5 years. And I must admit, Luke, probably this morning I was, you know, nervous, excited, everything, more than ever before probably here at Windsor, because, you know, 2.5 years worth of planning comes down to effectively a trial today where we either get the nod or we don't, but we're delighted with the outcome.
Well, nice to be joined by Sam Cohen, who's Head of Communications at ARC. And first of all, it is fantastic to be back at Windsor. It really is jumping.
It's yeah, as you say, Mick, fantastic. Everyone is really excited. We've had a couple of events in the last week or so that have really made everyone feel like we're nearly there. I think it was Nicky Henderson said the other night at a dinner we held at the racecourse that the excitement was palpable, and I think everyone's feeling that.
Yeah. How did it go here? You had a trial run last week. How did that go, and what was the feedback like?
It went well. I think everyone was really pleased to get the gallop done. There were a few points that were raised by the riders and the trainers that attended. We had 8 horses go around the track, 4 around the hurdle course and 4 around the chase course. And we got a few points of feedback from the riders, but which I'm pleased to say Charlie Rees, the clerk of the course here, Charlie Moore, who obviously is hugely experienced and looks after courses across our group, and the grounds team here at Windsor have been able to work on already and get into place.
So perfect. So looking forward to getting going.
Main tweaks?
Yeah, a few. I think probably the main one that you might have seen that was reported on is the bend after the winning post. Obviously, it's not a bend that's raced around when in flat racing.
Yeah, because obviously that's where they're pulling up, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
That's where the big difference will be.
So the track had been laid out. Charlie Rees and the team here had laid out the track beyond the winning post, which is just behind us there. In a separate hurdle and chase line. I think the general agreement from the jockeys and then from the team here and the BHA inspectorate was that a shared bend would probably ride better. So that was a fairly easy fix to make. There's been a couple of others further up at the other end of the track, down by the bottom bend. There's going to be a slight realignment of the fence and the hurdle that the riders will face coming out of that bend. But I think generally the feedback was pretty good. Particularly, I know the guys were really pleased about how basically the new area of racetrack rode on the day. People seem to be really happy
so obviously
with that.
you're cutting out the figure of 8 and making it's going to be a little bit of a wiggle down, but it's going to be in effect a long straight.
It is, yeah, down the back with I think five fences will be jumped down that back straight.
Plenty of room.
Yeah.
The only difference you can see is the different colour of the grass, where obviously it swings left-handed for the flat, and then it carries on with a slight dogleg to the right. But that wouldn't be dissimilar to your Toxteth or Haydock, which has that kind of configuration.
Well, it's, you know, obviously grounds teams at racecourses across the country are pretty used to their seasons. We all know how difficult the weather is and continues to be in terms of managing racetracks. I think establishing new areas of track is certainly a challenge that teams don't come across a huge amount. So I think we credit to the guys here at Windsor who've been managing that across what is always a really busy summer for them.
Yeah. Well, look, all I can say is roll on. What is it, December the 15th?
December the 15th, it's a Sunday, and then back in January for the 2 days of the Berkshire Winter Million alongside Ascot.
Mick Fitzgerald, before you go dashing off to get changed, last jump meeting here at Windsor, I've got pretty strong views about it. I've already voiced those. Any from you?
Oh, very much so. I think it's an absolute disgrace. I really do. I think, you know, those words might seem quite strong, but I don't think, you know, strong enough words touch the spot really about Windsor.
Mick, before you go and weigh in, what are your thoughts about Windsor?
Listen, racing coming back at Windsor is absolutely brilliant.
And it's been away for far too long, hasn't it?
Yes, it has.
2004, 2005, and we're back here again.
I know, but do you know what? It is 19 years since I walked into that winner's enclosure for the last time. And one of the reasons I loved racing at Windsor was I always rode a lot of short price favourites for the trainers that I rode for, because it was a great track. And I think the fact that we've got racing back, Andrew, like you rode a lot of winners here too, it's a good jumps track.
Good vibe, lucky place, what's not to like?
Good prize money. Winter Millions, that's a few quid.
Wouldn't mind a few quid in your back pocket like that now, would you?
Those days are gone, Andrew, those days are gone.